Hello and welcome to the M2 podcast. I'm your host, Michael Ante, my co host, Kyle Heath. This is the show where we cover esports and personalities, gaming industry related news, technology, innovation, and what am I missing? New and upcoming games. Look at that. I remembered it without even having to read it this time. We're getting better, man. At the start of every episode, we like to do a quick recap of what each other have been up to. So, Kyle, what have you been doing? Have you been gaming? Are you back on Saints Row? What are you doing?
Oh, you guessed it. Played a couple things this week. I finished out Saints Row. Notice how I said I finished out Saints Row, not me and my partner. Because unfortunately, whenever we tried to play, I was joining back in on the continue mid mission, and I didn't realize it was mid mission. And this is the final mission. So like I'm joining in mid mission. My friend tries to join, and it just says I'm busy, and he can't join. And the whole time I'm playing, it says so and so is joining, like in the top right, like trying to be like joining. Of course, obviously he couldn't join because I was busy. So I, rather than us trying to replay the whole mission and everything, like from the start, I was just like, I mean, it was a long mission, so I was like, I'll finish it out. I literally logged in, streamed it to Discord so you could just watch the rest of it.
Nice.
And the whole time he's like, dude, I wish I was playing. I was like, yeah, man.
That's so crazy.
It would have been nice, but yeah, man, I finished out ended up finishing out the game. Ending, I mean, I won't go into too much details. Ending, very lackluster, kind of expected. It's not really a surprise ending at all. So it's kind of just like, wasn't surprised to say the least, especially with how the game performed. Even ran into a few bugs on the last mission that made me I had to like restart the checkpoint a couple times. It was it's just what it is, man. I don't know. I've been over it. You know what I'm saying? Like we've been over this. I've beaten this dead horse for a while, but yeah, just overall game is extremely mid. That's I'd give it like a 4 or a 5 maybe. Out of 10.
That's tragic, man.
Yeah, it just kind of is what it is. I mean, there's DLC that came out for it that was free. I haven't played that yet. I haven't tried it. I mean, I don't know. I can't imagine there's less bugs or anything in it though, especially with how the core game is still. So I don't know. We're almost a year out, Mike, End of August that game came out. It is the end of May as we're recording this of the next year.
Yeah, we're about to come up on a year, and we got half a year away, but still no progress being made is pretty dang frustrating.
Yeah, is what it is.
At least you finished it, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad I finished the game, and overall it was kind of it was all right, but I will say we did switch to a rather good game after the fact that we've had on our list for a while. Another co-op game, a very popular one called A Way Out. I know we talked about it a couple times on the show. I've never actually played it, so and he hasn't either. So we were like, oh, this is perfect. With Game Pass, TM, if you have Game Pass, you have EA Play, or Game Pass Ultimate, you have EA Play. So both, of course, have that. So able to hop on at just $15 a month and play A Way Out.
Shills.
So far I really enjoyed the game. It's much better experience so far than Saints Row. We're only like an hour in, but it's just like I don't know. I just love it's of course it's made by the same people that did It Takes Two, and it was probably one of my favorite games of I guess 2021 that came out. I'm trying to remember. Maybe 2021. But whatever.
It Takes Two was like 2020, 2021, something like that.
Yeah, maybe it was 2022 because I remember I talked about it on the pod. So it probably was last year. But regardless, I really enjoyed that game, and it was one of my games of the year. So and I mean same studio that made A Way Out. This is back in I guess 2018. They made A Way Out, and I mean so far I'm enjoying it. Again, an hour in, but many more to come. So very much enjoying that. But that was I'll say it was all I played this week. That about done did it. So much else. Really just been like some YouTube here and there. You know how it is. Yeah, you and I on the YouTube grind all the time. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So
I'll be at the gym with YouTube running in the background. Like I'm always on YouTube.
True. Yeah.
It's my podcast, basically.
Yeah. But so I mean that was my week. Did you play any more than 2 games this week, Mike?
Any more than 2 games? No. Probably not. No.
Oh man. Okay.
No, I don't think I did. I mean, no, not really. I've been playing Breath of the Wild mostly. That's been the game I'm trying to like get through and really try to finish. I'm really getting into it now. So I beat the first half of the game to where you're now trying to recover Link's memories, and I got the
Uh,
first memory. So I'm like trying to get there. I'm like collecting a bunch of stuff. I'm unlock the fairy garden or fairy fountain, and I'm like just progressing as much as possible. And I think what I'm gonna do now, because I want to kind of speed run it so I can get to Tears of the Kingdom, and it's not the best way to beat a game, but looking online, like I want to reveal the whole map, go all the different sections, like spend a day doing that, and then just mark the map of things that I need to go do. So I can just like progress through the game. Like mark down all the shrines, mark down all the memories, and it's like just do all of that and get it out of the way. And yeah. There's some things like I come across in the game where it throws me back into all the older Zelda games. It's like a callback, which is really cool. Um so I'm pretty much into it right now. Very excited.
see, if you would have beat Breath of the Wild beforehand, Mike, we wouldn't have this predicament. It's a great predicament to
No,
be in, though, I must say.
yeah, it's true. Yeah. Wish I finished it earlier. But I mean, I still got other games I'm like trying to play with friends, and one of them right now, I think I downloaded it. Yeah, it's on the Xbox, so I have to actually go to my profile to remember the name of the game. But it's Wulong Fallen Dynasty, and did I mention this last week?
I think
I
you
think I
did.
did.
Maybe the week
Yeah,
prior. Yeah, it was a while ago.
I finally beat the boss after we did the recording. That took a while. I beat it. It's pretty late, and it took a while. So now I finally have co-op unlocked, and I think we're gonna do like
Nice.
every Tuesday, all of us get together and start playing.
You should, man.
So
It's a day. Yeah,
yes,
me,
sir.
me and my co-op buddy, I mean, we're, I think we try to do, like, every, like, Tuesday, Wednesday, like, same thing, kind of, just hop on at night. Trying to dedicate, like, a couple hours. It's how you have
Oh
to
yeah,
do it nowadays, with schedules and whatnot, so I don't mind it, but just the
it's
way
pretty
it
much the
is.
only way to game if you're like as you get older, you have to make free time
Yeah.
like tonight.
Yeah. Which
It's
I
like
like which I think some people are very much like against that. Like, dude, I hate how I have to plan this and I don't want to like I wish today I could just game. I don't know, man. I like the structure personally. I think I'd rather just be like, hey,
yeah,
just plan something out and be like, hey, let's play this then. And then I don't know. I like that. I think it's cool.
it makes it fun when you have friends that like everybody has busy schedules and trying to plan things out. If you just set down, like if you make a day where you have to do that,
Yeah.
it's just so much easier. Then you don't have to worry about it. It's like that day's blocked off for as long as you need it to be blocked off for.
Yeah. I don't know. I look at it optimistically too. Like it's something to look forward to, right? So
Exactly. Yeah.
that's the thing.
Yeah. The week goes by quick when have a scheduled podcast recording every week.
Yeah, dude.
You
I
know
feel
what I
like we just
mean?
recorded yesterday, dude. Well,
Yeah.
every
Exactly.
every week it feels like we just recorded like the day prior. Every week.
Exactly. Every time you're
Oh.
just like, what games did you play? I'm like, what did I do? What happened in the last
Was
7
that
days, dude?
this week? Yeah, I know. It's like, jeez.
Yeah. So hopefully I have more stories to go with Breath of the Wild, and hopefully I have more to go with Wulong Fallen Dynasty.
Hope so.
But
Hope so.
yeah.
I mean, because you gotta think about it, Mike. We only got 2 weeks. 2 weeks until Summer Games Fest, and then it's just,
Dude,
we're knee deep,
we I didn't realize how many things are happening that weekend. So next week, basically, yeah, the MetaQuest, right? And then the first week of June, you have Tribeca Games, Guerrilla Collective, Summer Games Fest, Future Play Direct, Wholesome Games Direct, Future Game Show, OTK Games Expo, Xbox Game Showcase, PC Gaming Show, and Final Fantasy. Dude, that and Ubisoft Forward. Like, gee, that's crazy. That's the first 2 weeks of June. All of those are happening.
yeah, so
So
let's talk about, Mike.
we're
It,
not
you
gonna be
know,
able to shut up.
this is the thing, dude. It's the June is the busy month for us on the podcast front. We got a lot. We're not short of news, which is great. But there's a lot to watch and stuff. So
I think those are some of our best performing podcast episodes too.
which
So
makes sense. What
it
can
does.
I say?
What can you say?
Uh,
All right. So what do you say we jump into the first article?
say we shall. Um, got some interesting news. Say, um, so starting off with a little bit of unfortunate news for Embracer. It's coming from Video Game Chronicle. Embracer shares have nosedived after the collapse of a $2 billion deal. You heard that right, Mike. That wasn't million. I didn't start that with an M. I started that with a B. Decibillion. $2 billion. The Lord of the Rings and Tomb Raider owner has slashed its earnings forecast. And also, they say, so Lord of the Rings and Tomb Raider, obviously, they're probably their biggest IPs. But, I mean, if you look elsewhere, too, Saints Row is also under this group. So, you know, I think we may, it could be a sign as to why maybe some of this deal could have fell through. Maybe not just that, maybe other things. But yeah, dude, products haven't been too great as of late, probably. Anyways, regardless, Embracer Group shares plummeted by over 40% on Wednesday after the Swedish company said a major deal had fallen through unexpectedly. As part of its quarterly earnings report, the company said it had been notified on Tuesday night that a $2 billion partnership wouldn't be going ahead as planned. The company, which owns the entertainment rights for The Lord of the Rings, as well as popular video game franchises like Tomb Raider and Borderlands, said it had slashed its earnings forecast because of the deal's collapse. For the current business year ending in March 2024, it lowered its previous guidance of SEK at $10.3 billion to $13.6 billion, and adjusted earnings before interest and taxes to $7 billion to $9 billion. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if I know what SEK is. I don't get it.
Let's find out.
I have no idea. Business terms that I am
It's
aware
the
of.
Swedish dollar, basically.
I see.
It's a krona, is what it's called.
Oh, okay.
Makes sense. They're a Swedish company.
Makes sense. It has been a challenging year, adversely impacted by game delays, weaker consumer demand, and lackluster reception for certain notable releases. That was a quote from the CEO, and I mean, could he have said it better, Mike? You know what I'm saying? Could he have said it better? Excuse me. Late last night, we were informed of one major strategic partnership that has been negotiated for 7 months will not materialize. The company elaborated, negotiations have been taking far longer than originally anticipated, considering we had a verbal commitment already in October of 2022. The specific deal included more than 2 billion USD in contracted development revenue over a period of 6 years. The deal would have enabled a catch-up payment at closing for already capitalized costs for a range of large budget games, but also notably improved medium to long-term profit and cash flow predictability for the duration of the game development projects. The transaction had many of the highest-rated global advisories on board, with several hundred people engaged on both sides. All documentation was finalized and ready to go as of yesterday. We asked for the execution of the agreement before our Q4 announcement. However, late last night, we received a negative outcome from the counterparty. The decision was unexpected to the management and the board of directors of Embracer. Oh man, that's like the worst. I mean, it sounds like it was totally unexpected, which makes it way worse. It's like there was no
100%, yeah.
Because like they're going to announce like, oh, you know, we have this huge acquisition. We'd love to close this out before we have to talk about Q4, and then it's like, oh well, back to the drawing board, I guess. It's like, geez, I don't know, dude. What do you think, Mike? I mean, with the amount of, with the games that they, you know, the IPs they have and the games they've released, does this make any at all sense? You think for this company to just pull out like this?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's hard to say because, like, I guess the real issue is the whole topic is like the shares plummeting over 40% because they couldn't get the deal going through. I mean, I feel like that's just the economy. That's just like the way investors look at things. If you don't constantly meet the earnings report, then they bail out quickly.
Yeah.
You know, it's like get out of there before everything drops so they can save their money. But if it does meet the expectations, then people buy in. You know,
Right. Yeah.
but it is kind of wild that they have like it's just kind of wild the $2 billion partnership that was already voiced as it was going to go through, like you said, isn't going to go through anymore. I didn't know you could just pull out of something like that last minute
I guess so.
because
I
they
mean,
seem like
especially a
it's a
deal
huge
that
loss.
big. Yeah. I mean, a deal that big, you know, and the fact that they had a verbal commitment, it's like, dude, that's just so unfortunate because like they're like, oh yeah, dude, we got you, and then it's, you know, But I mean, it just goes to show that, especially in business, the deal's not done until the ink is to paper. So it's kind of just the unfortunate reality of business. But dude, oh man, I just I was reading that, I was like, dude, that like obviously we're not a part of it, but like it's just like when you hear something like that, it's like that's a blow. And the CEO is probably like just like, I mean, all upper management was probably just like super down after they got the news that night. So
Oh yeah, I mean it's like a public embarrassment at the highest level, right?
yeah.
And it's just like they're still gonna be okay, right? Because if you have the gaming rights to something like Lord of the Rings and Tomb Raider, and of course Borderlands like super big, but like just Lord of the Rings is one of the biggest IPs of all time. And Tomb Raider, have you
Yeah.
played the Tomb Raider games, man?
I actually haven't. That's something I want to get on.
They're really good.
Yeah.
Like they're
That's what I've
some of
heard.
my favorite games. They're like really, really well made. They look absolutely gorgeous. If you watch any tech YouTubers that are testing equipment, they
Yeah,
always
no.
use Tomb
Super,
Raider
yeah, it's your
as like an
go-to.
example.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the test
Oh
bench.
man. You mentioned Lord of the Rings IP. I don't know if you've heard about Gollum, but reviews have dropped.
Oh yeah, I heard it's the worst reviewed game of
You can't even
2023.
so in the video you can't even see it, but there's actually a popular article right now on VGC that's in one of the links here. And the title of the article is Lord of the Rings Gollum is the worst reviewed game of 2023. And might I say, I watched Skill Up, big fan. I always talk about like he's my go-to guy for reviews. Man, yeah, he showed off that game, and phew, it it does not look good at all, Mike. We're talking about a bunch of bugs, story points that don't make sense. Just overall, it looks like a double A game at best, but it's like a triple A title that they're shipping, or at least they're shipping. They're shipping with like $60 price tag, but it's like 70 for like actual for what they claim to be bonus content, but it's like baseline features that should be in the base game. Yeah, it's a whole mess, to say the least. So, yeah, the first like Lord of
Yeah,
the Rings release is kind of a crapshoot from what I hear.
yeah, it has a Metascore of like low 40s, high 30s, like across the board for everybody.
Yeah.
From everybody. It's dude, that might that might be the worst review on a game I've seen in a very long time.
Yeah, it's definitely the worst of this year so far. I think fair to say. But yeah, it's dude. Oh man, Mike, we were so hyped too because like we saw like I think they were talking about Gollum. They showed some screenshots of something in that article. We're like, dude, it looks good. Like, oh man, I'm actually excited for this. And then it drops, and it's just ugh, it's not that.
Re- Dude, remember how excited? So they announced the games or rumors of games coming out, and they're still on the horizon, right? But they did that at the same time that the Rings of Power on Amazon launched. Remember that?
Yeah, yeah,
And like the Rings of Power was like it was pretty harshly received too. Like, it had a bunch of people watch it, but if you're a Tolkien fan, you were probably really upset.
yeah,
Uh, so so to see Lord of the Rings start taking some L's recently is not a good sign, especially for Embracer over here, who just saw their stocks plummet 40% on a single day. So
yeah.
that's not good,
Um,
man.
yeah, I don't know. Embracer definitely needs to go back to the drawing board. A lot of these IPs, I think. Especially, I mean, like, yeah, I mean, Borderlands and Tomb Raider are fantastic, but I think, but yeah, I mean, Lord of the Rings not going to a really nice start, and then Saints Row just being Saints Row, like it's like a reboot. A lot of people look forward to, and it just was clearly like quarter baked. It just wasn't done. So,
Yeah.
just unfortunate. Yeah, they got to focus on some of their IPs, I think. And I honestly, it probably contributes as to why this deal could have fell through. There could have been other legal stuff, obviously, but I don't know. It
That's a good point.
certainly didn't help, you know. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, I'm looking at the stocks right now, and it still has not recovered. It,
yeah,
GG's, man.
dude.
It's
Who
done.
knows? Who knows, man? Who knows when it will, if it will, I don't know. Hope for the best, but yeah, tough week to say the least for Embracer going into like one of the biggest weeks in gaming. So,
Yeah.
ooh, it's rough.
We'll see if they can bounce back. That's something we should be paying attention to. I want to see another Tomb Raider game. And yeah.
True.
But
Very
you know
true.
what's next, right? The new the new Q handheld by Sony. So this article comes from The Verge. and it is from Jay Peters and Sean Hollister, who we've covered several times. And essentially, what the story is about Sony's new Q handheld is official. It's an 8-inch screen and it streams PS5 games. So Sony's Project Q, is what it's now being labeled as, is a portable device and is coming later this year to remote play games from your PlayStation 5 over Wi-Fi. So Sony has officially confirmed it's working on a PlayStation handheld to make it easier to play your PS5 games. It was announced during Wednesday's PlayStation Showcase and is called Project Q. We're going to drop into the PlayStation Showcase at the end of this podcast, so stick around for that. So this is a direct quote from PlayStation boss Jim Ryan, and he said during the PlayStation Showcase, "We will launch a dedicated device that enables you to stream any game from your PS5 console using remote play over Wi-Fi. Internally known as Project Q, it has an 8-inch HD screen and all of the buttons and features of the DualSense wireless controller. Now, more specifically, it'll have an LCD screen running games at up to 1080p 60 frames per second over Wi-Fi, according to a Sony press release. And it will feature both the it will feature the adaptive triggers and haptic feedback of the DualSense. The Q handheld is set to launch later this year, just like the PlayStation Bluetooth earbuds announced Wednesday. The Sony didn't say exactly when or how much the new device might cost." Don't you love it when they don't mention those?
I love it, dude. It's my favorite. Yeah,
Going blind.
And it's like releasing in November. I love it, Mike. I love it.
That's so far away. All right, so according to the fine print at the bottom of Sony's presentation, games you play on the Q must be installed on a PS5 controller itself. It apparently designed as a companion for your own PS5, not something that would play games natively like a Steam Deck or a phone or even stream them from the cloud. That's tough.
Yeah,
That's
I had some
tough.
opinions on that when I first saw it. I will say, but we can continue on with the article if there's more to read.
Yeah. So, however, Sony is one of the foremost companies with a cloud gaming service. One it currently seems to be overhauling based on the many job postings we dug up. So it's possible that the Q adds cloud gaming at a later date. It would seem weird to omit services that make Sony more money. Sony's brief tease didn't address whether you'd be able to use the Q to stream games outside of your house. Sony's Remote Play does currently support connections over cellular, though you might need to tether it to a phone or a hotspot since Sony has only mentioned Wi-Fi. I don't think that would work very well, to be honest.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't. Yeah. Jeez. I mean,
Yeah.
because like when I first saw this, I was like, oh, like because like they're first showing it in the in like the presser, it's like, oh yeah, this is like really cool. Like, I mean, it looks like because like when I first saw it, I immediately thought it was like a Switch with like PlayStation controller Joy-Cons because it's kind of what it looks like.
It really does.
But yeah, but I mean, look, I mean, the idea of like a handheld I can play PlayStation games on, I love that idea. Just because like I think it's I mean, it's essentially a Switch for Sony, and you could like just play the games wherever you feel comfortable. And obviously, with the handheld market popping off the way it is, with the Steam Deck and the Rogue like Ally and stuff like that, with all these devices, Logitech. I mean, it's like we're moving more towards handheld, which is awesome. Obviously, Switch leading that charge if you want to like get serious about it. I mean, obviously we've had like the PSPs and all that in the past, but like full-fledged consoles, Switch really started that, and then now a lot of people are trying to catch up on like a PC based sort of handheld. But I mean, yeah, PlayStation. I think it's something PlayStation doesn't have a market in anymore, so with no like mobile or handheld like devices. Like, there's remote play, which you can play like on other devices, but I mean, I think the idea of having this, I really like it. I think what I don't like is the fact that it's like you need a PS5 for it. And it's like, I don't know, because there's certainly a market out there with people that want to play like PS5 games mobily and don't necessarily want to fork out like $500 for PlayStation.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's that market there, and it's just, it doesn't appeal to that market at all. It's only people that own a PlayStation. So, again, love the idea of mobile gaming. I just wish that maybe this was like its own standalone thing. Granted, if you're adding like cellular and stuff like that that's a whole other thing. But I mean, and the price point would reflect it. But yeah, I mean, also I don't. It's gonna come down to the price too, what they actually end up like placing this at, because if it's like if for some reason this is like a $300 device, like they're never gonna hear the end of it. I mean, it's just like it's
I
gonna
think
be
it might
rough.
be. I think it might be a $300
I
device,
just
man.
yeah, more people are gonna be more pissed off. I mean, needless to say, but um, hey, look, I love the idea and the fact that I mean, and what's making me think it could be 300 is not only like but like the display's LCD too. It's not even like an OLED or anything like that. So it's kind of like, maybe they're cutting costs there, which I could see. But I mean, it is technically a PS5 controller at the very least, right? With just the adaptive triggers and
Exactly.
everything. So I mean,
Exactly.
we know it's at least going to be probably 150. So I mean, yeah, but honestly, if I had to guess, my prediction would probably be like 200, 250. But it sounds. I don't know. It sounds like you, Mike, that that 300 is a total possibility for a device like this.
I definitely think it's a 300 price range, man. I think they'll probably bundle it with their wireless earbuds.
Yeah, the wireless
That
earbuds. Don't
they
get me
look
wrong.
ugly, man.
Not only
They
that,
do not look
but
comfortable
like, dude, what is
at all.
what? All right, what is Sony, specifically PlayStation's track record with audio devices? Now the new headsets and stuff.
That's a
Obviously, like I
fact.
don't know much about the new headsets. I mean, they could be good, but it's like, but like in the past, I don't feel like they have a really solid foundation when it comes to audio. So it makes me even more skeptical about these. And yeah, I mean, obviously, I think it's more than obvious that it's meant to be paired with the handheld, right? And that's kind of why they're marketing them together. Because like, if you get that, well, you want some privacy, you can get some earbuds, like truly wireless earbuds. Which is a new thing now, but yeah, I mean, I like the case and everything. I'm curious how those would actually look in ear. Like, I feel like they just look weird.
They don't look comfortable. They don't look like they're made for the ear.
Yeah,
But I mean, I could be wrong. This
yeah.
is like
I
a
mean, I don't
render,
know.
right?
Yeah, I know when
3D
I
model.
first like what's so funny too? Whenever like before they even announced like this was like a handheld with the PlayStation and stuff like that, almost like I was like looking at the PlayStation they show on the left hand side of this like screen, which I'm showing right now. I was looking at that and I was like, that like is that a smaller like PlayStation of some sort? Like is that a stream box? Because like compared to the actual controller thing itself, I mean,
Oh,
the
that's
controller,
definitely smaller.
yeah, I mean, the controller's like huge, and I'm like, it just didn't make sense. I was like, it'd be cool if this is like a streaming device and it was a cheaper, variation of a PlayStation. And you just have like this little box that you could stream from, and you could just take a little handheld. Obviously, there's no place to actually place it like a Switch or anything like that. So I mean, it was pretty obvious pretty quick that this was kind of a separate thing. But um, yeah, man, I mean, I don't know. I definitely wish, and I hope in the future there'd be a way that you can possibly just use this only as like a streaming device for PlayStation games. So if you want to still stay in the ecosystem, you can have a handheld device where you can stream the games to over Wi-Fi, over like a remote play, and just like play like PS Now or something on it, right? And just have like those games at your disposal. That'd be awesome. And if and I clearly there's no, it seems like there's no room for like storage or anything like that. There's no way to like add storage to the device. Which probably would also cut down on cost. But at the same time, it's kind of just like, I don't know. I just wish this was something else at the end of the day, and that's kind of where my head's at when it comes to this announcement.
Yeah, I mean, I just kind of view it more like it's just a tablet with a controller next to it. A tablet, like a
Yeah,
streaming tablet only.
right.
And if so, let's try to like figure this out logically, right? So, like, what's the PS5 DualSense Edge controller? How much does that cost? $200.
Yeah, DualSense. Yeah, the Pro controller. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is a screen. It's a little bit more complicated than a controller. So I'm expecting it to be at least 250, $300 with the markup and the fees and everything included.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I
I
wouldn't buy it.
I forgot what they were pricing the DualSense Edge on, but also, I mean, there's swappable joysticks and stuff. Obviously, they're not going to do that for something like this, but that's a good point.
That's
That's
true.
something I didn't think
That's
about.
true.
Yeah, was curious to see what the price is, but obviously, it's not a PS5 owner. Even if I had a PS5, I mean, to be truthful, I probably wouldn't buy this just because, like, if I'm playing my PS5, I'm just normally going to play like, at
Yeah.
something. Um, But I mean, I don't know, the idea of mobile gaming, like, if I started playing my Switch more and I really love that and I had a PS5, it's like, okay, well, this could be a way to play in bed. There's definitely, I'm not saying there's not a market for it, but guys, I wish this was something else. And I think, and for Sony's case too, I wish this was something like, different, because I think there's a lot of, I mean, just like they say in the article, there's a lot of missed opportunity here by not making this like a general device that's outside of the PlayStation 5 kind of realm.
Well, the thing that's annoying is, like, we heard rumors about a Sony handheld coming out for a while, and everybody just automatically assumed it was like a PSP or
Yeah,
something
something like that.
going along those like that route, and it's not. It's basically like a handheld device, but it's stream only, and you can only do it in your house, and hopefully you have good Wi-Fi and you don't have interference from neighbors. If you're
Yeah,
like more and more people live in apartments and closed housing, right? So
it's true.
it's kind of crazy. But I don't see the appeal when you can go get something like the Steam Deck or the
Yeah,
Nintendo Switch or the Asus ROG Ally, and, like, there's, like, what, 2 or 3 other ones that we've covered just in the last 6 months?
yeah. And
Like,
PlayStation moving a lot of their original IP over to PC, right? Guess what? You'll probably
100%.
play that on a Steam Deck. So I
Definitely,
mean, it's
definitely.
like, I mean, yeah, yeah. The market for this is certainly small. The fact that you need the console itself already like drastically lowers it. So I don't know. I mean, we'll
Exactly.
see. I mean, maybe it's a maybe it's a solid device, and I hope for Sony's sake that it is. But yeah, I think overall it's kind of just, I don't know. Then I have this guy over here.
Yeah, we'll see how it is when they end up dropping the price, and then we can find out.
Yeah. Yeah, and we'll know by then. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to be optimistic over something like this, especially with the position Sony's in and everything. So we'll see.
I think I'm not gonna rule it out completely. I'm just gonna
I mean,
say,
yeah,
my initial thoughts are they could have went a different route and made it better. And we're just speculating on the price right now, so we can't be too egregious.
yeah,
Like,
sure.
so we'll see. We'll see.
We will see for sure.
You know what else we'll see is one of the most dominant publishers coming out with something else in their store.
It's very true. It's very true.
That's a segue.
Thank you. That was a good one. That's a good segue. Yeah, there's a couple solid articles. This one and the next one are like I'm excited for. I think this though is worth mentioning, and that is the Epic Games Store's latest free game is drumroll Fallout New Vegas Ultimate Edition. Um, if you've been watching this program, you've probably heard me talk about Fallout New Vegas and how it's one of my favorite games of all time. Quite literally, it's a fantastic game. It's what got me into RPGs. Back when Bethesda made solid games. They can still recover. Not saying
It's been a while.
it's been a while. It's been a while for sure. But yeah, this is 100% free to claim, but it's only until June 1st. So you have to hop on this like immediately. It's only like a week. So if you're watching this within the week of the 26th to the 1st of June, then yeah, you could get this. I mean, again, high recommend for me. I think it's a pretty solid game. I'll go into the article a little bit. I mean, there's not too much to touch on, but I'll say game is currently free to claim until June 1st. And then it will be replaced by a mystery title. Epic Games Store gave away 99 free titles last year, up from 89 in 2021. These games had a combined worth of $22.40, so $22,240, and users claimed over 700 million free titles, down from 765 million in 2021. Still a lot. Jeez. The Epic Game Store recently launched its Mega Sale 2023 promotion featuring discounts of up to 75%, and this will run until June 15th at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. All Epic Game Store accounts also automatically receive a coupon offering 25% off purchases priced at or combining to $15 US. The players will receive another 25% coupon each time they complete an eligible transaction, which they have in their terms and conditions. The Epic Rewards scheme also launched last week. For every eligible purchase on the Epic Game Store, you'll receive 5% back on the total spent as credit to use in the store. That's what Epic said. Epic Games announced last month that it acquired Brazil-based Horizon Chase and Wonderbox Studio Aquarius for an undisclosed sum. The Aquarius team will be the foundation of the company's first Latin America studio, Epic Games Brazil, which will work on the Fortnite series. Dang, dude. Epic making some big moves, but I think the fact that they're they've been putting pretty high caliber games up there. I think Death Stranding, like Director's Cut or whatever, was like the last one, which is it's fairly recent.
Yeah, that was pretty recent, wasn't it?
Yeah. So there's some pretty solid games going up here. But yeah, Fallout New Vegas. I'd be surprised if anyone listening to this doesn't already have this masterpiece of a video game. But if you don't, go on Epic Games and get it for free. This is the Ultimate Edition too, includes all the DLC. It's a lot of content, a lot of hours. I think even for its time, it's the only caveat and the only thing I will warn people is that the UI is slightly dated, I think, in terms of like inventory system, because when you go to like pick up items, it essentially brings up a screen of the inventory and pauses your game essentially to like pick the items and move over and stuff like that. There are mods that do fix this, but again, modding, I know some people don't feel like modding their games, so unless you want to mod your experience and make it more modern with a more modern UX UI, I would just like keep in mind that you'll have to bear with the inventory system a little bit, because I think it's a little bit older, and that was something I noticed when I played it recently. Was that I was like, yeah, this is a lot of like pausing and then going back in, pausing, going back in when you're picking up items and stuff. So
yeah, you mentioned that when you were starting to go back and like mess with Fallout series all over again.
Yeah,
trying to remember the good old times.
Yeah, there was also a pretty heavy fan DLC that was launched. That was like really well made. I played a little bit of that. But yeah, when I was
it
playing,
was
I was
like basically a fan remastered version, wasn't it?
Well, it was a fan DLC. So I think there was definitely some elements of the game that were remastered, but it was just a whole DLC experience, like professionally voice acted and everything. It was made by a small team. So yeah, but when I went back and played that, that's when I noticed. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna need to download some mods, because this is definitely a little dated, but I don't know. Still, it's like a very classic RPG for me. First person and everything. Shooting is not the best, but they have like a VATS system in place, so essentially it freezes time, lets you select where to hit. You have a certain chance of hitting certain areas of a person or an animal thing. That was our way of kind of combating how bad the the first person shooting actually was. But I don't know. The story's great. The characters are awesome. It's a tried and true RPG for me. So, and it's one of those games, like, I love this game. I still have not played Skyrim to this day. Someday I'll probably go and play it, but but yeah, I like got all my love for it out of this, and I was just like, I don't know, I'm not like huge on like the kind of older times. That's the best way to say it, like medieval, maybe not medieval, but you get the idea.
Yeah, yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah,
but
that
like,
old grimy like old English kind of style.
Yeah, like the magic and all that. I don't know, it's my favorite.
Oh yeah.
Then
Yeah,
again,
I know what you mean now.
Then again, I loved Hogwarts Legacy, and it was, yeah, there's no guns in that or anything, so I'd probably enjoy it. But yeah, I think this is a huge get if you don't already have it. So definitely check it out. I don't know, Mike, have you ever played New Vegas? I don't even know if we talked about it.
No, I haven't. I've watched a bunch of stuff about it, and I've checked it out. Not played it though.
Yeah,
just mostly watching like people play. I was big into Twitch, so I watched Fallout like playthroughs and stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that have done playthroughs and everything. Yeah, it's a solid game. If you love RPGs, it's definitely like a must play for me, in my eyes. So yeah, definitely check it out if you have not. And it's free till June 1st. If you're watching this after June 1st, I hope the Summer Games Fest was good. I'll say that first and foremost. But little late to the draw, unfortunately. Can't get it. Better luck next time,
Yeah, definitely. It's not just Epic Games that does these kind of sales too, but Amazon will also throw up like old games, like Jedi Academy, Jedi Outcast. I got for free because I had Amazon Prime. So it's like there are ways to get new games and for free, or at least huge markups, like 75%. That's kind of wild, and they do have some fire on their sale. So yeah, it's worth checking out always.
Yeah, always. You know what else is almost worth checking out, Mike? We're almost there, dude.
I thought I was gonna have to do my own segue.
Oh,
thanks for filling it in.
I got you.
We're talking about one of your favorite franchises, I think, IPs probably.
Oh yeah,
Alan Wake. So this is from Kotaku by Luke Plunkett. who again we've covered so many times. So Alan Wake 2 won't be releasing on a disc.
See,
Dum dum
but
dum.
before you even get into it, I just I'm excited to talk to you about this because I know we've talked about the whole physical media before a lot.
Yeah.
So I'd love to get your take on it. It's very interesting, and I honestly don't know how I feel about it, but yeah, we can continue on.
Well, I just love it how Luke over here on the subscript, I think is what it's called. Under subtitle,
Subtitle, yeah.
I guess. Yeah, welcome to the latest precedent set by a AAA game release. Yeah.
Yep, pretty
Yep.
much.
Welcome to the new world. All right, so Alan Wake 2, one of the stars of this evening's PlayStation showcase, is some very interesting news tucked away in an accompanying FAQ released at the same time as its latest trailer. The game will not be shipping on a disc at all. It'll be digital only.
Ah, ah, ah,
Yeah.
ah.
Yeah. So Remedy explained that the decision is based on two factors: current trends and an effort to keep the price at $60 instead of $70. More and more games are starting to charge. Oh, so we're just making up excuses.
Make it
That's
up,
the
dude. That is.
that's where we live, huh? That's where we
Oh,
live.
yeah. I don't like that excuse. There ain't no way. That's the only
Oh,
reason.
are
Oh,
you ready for the future hot take? Here's a hot take. They're gonna start making new consoles that will not have disk drives. They won't have cartridges, and you'll be stuck downloading all your games. You won't have enough storage, and then you're gonna get Xboxed, and they're gonna give you an M.2 drive for like $200 that you could easily buy on like storages on like PC Part Picker for a quarter of the price.
yeah. Yeah,
That's what's
probably.
gonna happen.
Probably.
Oh man. Okay. Should we dive into it, or do you have a hot take like I just did?
Uh, Ready to hear this FAQ though that they tagged in the article.
All right. So here's their explanation in full. Why is Alan Wake 2 a digital only release? So the response: there are many reasons for this. For one, a large number have shifted to digital only. You can buy a Sony PlayStation 5 without a disc drive, and Microsoft's Xbox Series S is a digital only console. It is not uncommon to release modern games as digital only. It's like you're not answering the question. So, secondly, not releasing a disc helps keep the price of the game at $59.99 and the PC version at
That's another
$49.99.
interesting take. Oh, I'd love to hear your opinion on.
Finally, we did not want to ship a disc product and have it require a download for the game. We do not think this would make for a great experience either. And then follow-up question, is there a disc-based version of Alan Wake 2 in the works? There are currently no plans to release Alan Wake 2 on a disc. All right, so let's go back. Secondly, not releasing a disc helps keep the price of the game at $59.99 and the PC version at $49.99. What the F are you talking about, man?
Dude.
The whole reason it's cheaper on PC is because it's digital only most of the time, if not every time. I don't remember the last time. Like this is actually unironically the last PC game I bought on disc, the original Star Wars Jedi Knight 2 Jedi Outcast. Unironically, I don't have a disc drive, which is why I downloaded the digital one. Because who has disc drives anymore? And then they're
uh,
charging $10 more for the console version, bro. What?
it's so funny to me. I mean, I'm just gonna say it up front, dude. It pays to be a PC gamer. You know what I'm saying? Put a lot
It
of up
does,
front. There
but
you go. You get $10 off the game. just, uh, I just feel bad for people still on console. I can't lie, but at the same time, it's like I don't know, dude. Just get where's physical media? You know what I'm saying? I know it probably doesn't. Granted, most modern titles, yeah, I get it. I don't know, man. Like when I'm buying PS2 games or GameCube games, it's like I'll just sit there for a little bit, just be like, yo, look at this. This is sick. Just have it in my collection. Uh,
yeah, I mean that's what I have. I have so many. I have games. I have games on every shelf here in this room.
yeah.
Like
It's
it's
nice to
all
have that
physical,
physical.
obviously.
It's nice to have the physical. Yeah, it's interesting that it's a $10 price drop for PC. It's just kind of
Yeah.
why? But you know, I'm not necessarily complaining, but it's just it just doesn't really make sense. I guess. I don't know.
No, it doesn't. Sometimes I think that the games aren't even on the discs anymore, and it's just the license on it, and it's just a permission to download it through the internet, which is why every single console now has to be connected to the internet.
Right. Exactly. I mean,
So, a license to play, like, come on, man.
yeah.
This is why Nintendo this is the one pro that Nintendo has. You buy the game, it's a cartridge, put it in the console, you're good to go. There's some games that definitely require to be online, but that's a different matter altogether.
When I say I can also respect the fact that Nintendo is still like going cartridge based, which is kind of crazy. Like I know they went to disc obviously for like GameCube, and they went to like that medium, but like for the Switch, they're like,
Yeah.
you know what? Let's bring it back a little bit, which I can respect. So big ups on Nintendo for
100%,
that.
man. Definitely. Um, I guess we can continue on with the article, but really what the article is just talking about is how uh it's an opinion-based article where Luke starts giving his viewpoint. I think you and I agree with a lot of the things that he's saying. Just
Yeah,
like the next paragraph is like, say what you will about the marginal economics of modern AAA video games and retail, but there's still, at a time of publishing anyway, a functional resale market where people are able to take a disc they've bought, sell it to someone else, and use that money to either buy a new game or less, or I don't know, just buy something else. Yeah, but
yeah,
now you can't. And
yeah.
I mean, this is a growing trend that's definitely started with Microsoft, and it's the one thing I actually really hated about Xbox is they're just trying to get rid of the resale market in general. So this is just one more thing.
It's true. Yeah,
It's like if gamers are smart and they don't want to change like this new trend, because they always do that like test run, right? A couple of games, digital only.
yeah.
Let's see
Oh
if it
yeah.
sells. If this is really successful, I know this hurts you because you want to play it. But if this is really successful and it becomes a trend, it's like only the consumers to blame at that point because
Yeah.
publishers follow the money, and if it works, they're going to do it.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, yeah, this thing. I mean, you're definitely cutting costs, not printing this. That's for sure. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, but yeah, I mean, here's the thing. What do you think is a percent chance that this game will ever actually be printed onto a disc? Do you think there's any like inkling? I guess it depends on success, right? Is I
Yeah.
think. Um,
I don't see it happening. I could see if it becomes very successful, they'll probably do some type of like collector's edition maybe or anniversary edition or like milestone like platinum hits kind of thing where you can buy the physical copy. But yeah, I don't know, man. It still says it's going to be a digital only game across the board, so we'll see how that actually plays out.
God, you just sent me back with platinum hits. I will say
Yeah, I know.
that. Platinum
Yeah.
hits,
I go to
baby.
a bunch of Goodwills and they have like loads of those games, dude.
Yeah, for sure. Dude, yeah.
But
Oh, man.
uh,
Man.
speaking of loads of games, what happened recently? We've referenced it now in the Alan Wake 2 article and the Sony new Q. Is it our last article?
I think it is. It's not even an
It
article,
is.
Mike. It's not an
It's
article, dude.
not. It's a video. It's PlayStation Showcase, baby.
PlayStation Showcase 2023. Um, yeah, so this happened while during the last week. PlayStation's first showcase since I believe September 2021, something ridiculous like that. We've obviously had state of plays, but that is different from showcases. Um, and yeah, this is. I think people had a lot of expectations, of course, going into this. Obviously, being a
Yeah.
showcase, right? There's like another bar there. I think for a lot of people. And yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, I mean, yeah, I mean, if you just look at it, kind of no expectations, kind of surface level, I think it's I mean, I think it's it's not a bad showcase. It's not a bad presentation by any means. But yeah, we'll get into we'll go and highlight some of the key kind of games that were shown. And we'll kind of just we'll just kind of go through the list as we see it. There's a lot of like indie titles, kind of not as big AAA, but I mean there was a decent amount. I mean, Helldivers 2, I saw there was some people that were hyped about this sequel to Helldivers. I mean, just look at the trailer. It's pretty interesting, I'll say the least. I, like yeah, I think
It reminds me of what is it? I have the game somewhere over here. Lost Planet. Is that
yeah.
it? Yeah,
Ah, yeah,
Lost
it kind
Planet. It
of
gave me
does.
Lost
Yeah,
Planet
yeah.
vibes.
Very true. Yeah. Yeah, it looks pretty interesting. Nice little. It almost reminds me of like some space like shooter kind of thing.
Yeah, explore. Like, what's the Monster Hunter?
Yeah,
Isn't that
Monster
the one where
Hunter.
you team up with your buddies and then you
Yeah.
try to go through and just kill all the
Honestly,
monsters?
see, Lost Planet is a bad analogy. I like. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty close.
That was my initial thought when I was watching it earlier today. I was like, I know the overall sentiment of the showcase wasn't really positive, but for me, I kind of liked it.
Yeah.
I felt like there were more things they could have done. Like, why are the graphics kind of dated
Yeah.
looking? Like, why they look like they're on an older generation? It's like this is supposed to be a PS5. Where were the graphics? But at the same time, it's like new games that I haven't seen in a while. Maybe they're taking some risks. It's like I
Yeah.
kind of like to see that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean that was kind of the it's like the second game that kind of showed off. I think for the most part, a lot of these were yeah, like Immortals of Avium. This is I think some Call of Duty
That looked
devs.
nutty.
Yeah, it looks pretty. I mean, I think it was like some ex Call of Duty devs that are kind of going. They're trying to do a first person kind of magic combat fighter.
Mhm.
It honestly looks it looks pretty cool. I think it looks like it runs pretty well. At least from this. I'd be curious to see how it plays as an FPS, especially if you have like ex COD people working on it.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and I mean, I don't know. It looks pretty fluid to me. I'll be curious to see. I'll be curious to see story wise if there's any substance there. It kind of seems like they're trying to build up to something pretty cool. So, I mean, I think overall combat looks cool. It's definitely something I'm gonna be. I think I'm gonna be looking into review wise whenever it drops. But yeah, that was pretty cool. Sort of at the start. Ghost Runner 2. I mean, just look at this, dude. Bikes, motor vehicles, racing, maybe. I don't know.
Dude, that game reminded me instantly of XG2 from the N64,
Oh, I don't know if I know that
which
game.
oh, it's an insane game. It's probably one of the best racing games I ever played on the N64, and except for like Rush was really good too. Um, but basically, it was like that's not a racing game, but it had those elements where
Yeah.
you're like defying gravity, and it's like is it Cybertron or no, not Cybertron? It's Tron mixed with uh, I don't even know Minority Report in the future. So like they're
Nice.
driving vertical, doing loops, and it's like you blow each other up. It's crazy, man.
Yeah.
But
Interesting.
that's what that game reminded me of.
Yeah. Yeah, talk about Phantom Blade. This looks like this reminds me this honestly reminds me of like a Ghost of Tsushima or something like that.
Hmm.
Kind of that vibe. So yeah, very, very interesting if you're into that kind of game. Probably there. I mean, that seems to be a lot of kind of the opening games. And I know for some people that was kind of a complaint, is like there's no like it doesn't seem like there's a true like heavy hitter, which I think for a lot of these showcases, at least like when I watch a showcase, if there's something huge at the start, I think it's a good thing. Like just hit with like some major announcement or something, right? Just kind of get
Yeah,
people
that's
like
true.
focused in. Yeah, there really wasn't that. I don't feel like in the showcase. Um, so yeah, that was certainly a complaint I saw, and I could echo that sentiment. I mean, a lot of like, I mean, there's a lot of little indie games like your little cat like fighting like
Cat Quest.
cat quest like literally Pirates of the Caribbean. Come on, like you know what I'm saying, like what are we doing here, Mike?
I mean, gaming is for everybody, and you got people that are
It's
like
very
have
true.
had PlayStations their whole lives, and now they got kids.
It's true. It's
That's
not
a
coming
game to get
till
for your kid.
it's not coming till next year though, Mike. Hate to break it to you.
That's true.
um
Yeah.
it's also on PS4 still, which is interesting. PS5 and PS4. I don't know, it looks I don't know, I like joking, but for the most part it looks like a cool, I love the art style. I think it's very interesting, so be
It is
curious to
very nice.
see how that does. Yeah, there's just a lot of like
Oh,
interesting ones at the start.
don't
You
skip
want to
Foam
see Foam
Stars.
Stars? All right.
Yeah, there was a lot,
I heard a lot of
there was some
people.
hate.
Yeah, there was. I heard a lot of people kind of saying like, "Oh, this could be like Sony or PlayStation's version of Splatoon," which I
That's
think,
100% what it's
which
gonna
is
be.
like, yeah, which like you see that, it's like, okay, yeah, color, yeah, makes sense.
I mean, Splatoon is like highly successful though,
It is.
and
I mean,
PlayStation
it's
has a competitive scene. Like imagine
yeah,
Foam Stars becomes an esport.
yeah. I mean, it could be. I mean, yeah, that's the Splatoon has become one of Nintendo's huge IPs, especially in the multiplayer space. So it makes
Hmm.
sense if there's going to try to be copies. I mean, I mean, Splatoon. No, you know, you're just looking at it like, yeah. You see gameplay, it's like, yeah, Splatoon.
Yeah, I really like that one. I also liked even the next one, like the Plucky Squire.
Yeah.
Where it was an interesting transition between doing 2D, like almost platformer style games, and then you're like coming out of the print to
Yeah.
go into 3D, which is
Yeah, it's
really
interesting.
interesting way to do it.
Yeah, it looks really
So
cool.
as the trailer goes on, yeah, pops out of the
Yeah.
game itself
Yeah. Pretty
and
cool.
goes into the 3D. It's like breaking. It's like Inception breaking into the different layers,
Yeah.
like
This is
dimensions.
actually
It's
pretty
really
sick.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah, this was pretty sick. Like, because I see this, especially at 3D, and it's like it reminds me of the same art style as It Takes Two. So kind of
Yeah.
that very like it looks very well done too. So yeah, definitely excited to see how this does. I mean, come on, dude, it just looks sick. Like, I don't know, it looks pretty cool. It's coming out this year. It's PS. It's a Devolver game too. So I mean, Devolver always makes the wacky stuff that's pretty interesting. So yeah, we can of course just keep going with some of these. I think one of the bigger ones that this showcase had was not immediately noticed, I don't think, with the trailer, but you see some terrain, you see some bugs, you're like, what is this, grounded? Is this is this PlayStation response to grounded? I don't know, Mike, what are we looking at here? And then it goes on and on, and then we start to see there's like a snake, and like he gets rolled by a gator, because the gators are in the woods. It's you don't know what to expect, and then at the very end we see man himself, Snake Baby, in the river. Oh, and then yeah. So Metal Gear Solid Delta is the name of the title. But which Snake Eater, Metal Gear Solid 3. For those who don't know the Metal Gear Solid franchise. Yeah, it seems to be a remake of that. Very I don't know. I'm certainly very excited about this. Metal Gear is one of those series I want to get into, and especially since I'm going the retro gaming route, I eventually want to be able to like own physical copies of those and play them and stuff. So, there's also a collection that's coming out too that they show here. This is Volume 1, which will include games 1 through 3 that you will be able to play on PlayStation 5. So very interesting stuff there. But I think a lot of kind of confusion was that the development team put out a statement, and they were just called like the development team is what they were calling themselves. They didn't announce who was like working on the game, so to speak, like who the team was. It was kind of just like there was like, of course, no Kojima attached to it because he's doing his own thing. But like Konami didn't even like put their stamp on it or anything. And then like there was a statement that was brought out by the development team, and they kind of said like, "Yep, the development team's working on it," kind of thing, and it'll be out, and we hope fans enjoy it. But like even Jeff Keighley was like tweeting at the announcement tweet of like from the team, and they were like, "Okay, who is the development team though?" Because like no one, because they just didn't say. And it's like very vague. So very curious there what's going on, but I don't know. At least from the initial kind of cinematic, it looks pretty cool. But obviously until we see gameplay and everything, we find out who the development team is. Still kind of up in the air a little bit. But that was kind of certainly one of the bigger announcements from this show. And then you move on, dude. Not too much. Yeah, so like Final Fantasy XVI, they did some more stuff on that. That's obviously for Final. I've actually
IP.
like a huge IP, right? And I think a lot of people who are into Final Fantasy, they're very much looking forward to this. And I think for the most part, like combat and stuff, I've heard good things. I think for the most part about people saying good, like, man. Yeah, they were like, yeah. I mean, honestly, I'm in. Good. Like, kind of let's do it. So yeah, I mean, it looks really good. They kind of gave more sort of a trailer for that. Some little bit of gameplay, but then launch into the big boy, or one of the big boys, Mike. One of the ones I've been looking forward to the most, Alan Wake 2, was officially dated and everything on the PlayStation Showcase, which is pretty cool. In fact, whenever I tuned in to watch it live, I was at the tail end of this trailer, and I was like watching it. I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm missing like the first half.
You gotta rewind it.
But yeah, so I like was rewatching it. I don't know. I loved Alan Wake. Unfortunately, I beat the first game like right before like the remaster or the remaster came out. So it was like right before like the new like update, but it was still a really good title, and I was very much looking forward when they announced 2 last year. I was like, oh dude, I'm all in. Like very much looking forward to this. Gameplay wise, right off the bat, especially with the third person perspective that we will see a little bit later, it immediately reminds me of like Resident Evil, Resident Evil 4 or something like that. So I think there's probably some inspiration for that style of camera for some of this game, but it looks like it's like a true to form horror game this time around. It's definitely going to be like the first one was kind of psychological horror, and there was like some aspects of that was, but it wasn't like a horror game. This one is definitely more that route of like trying to dive into horror a little bit more. And so I'm very much looking forward to that. But yeah, this has a release date. It's October 17th, I believe. It's like right in the middle of October. So
it's perfect timing.
Yeah, so it's like right around Halloween time when you want a horror game regardless anyway. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to this. Can't wait to see the reviews. If the reviews are good, I'm purchasing this game instantly. But yeah, very excited about that. That's just a few months away. So really cool there. The one to follow this one up was the next Assassin's Creed entry shown off, which is kind of surprising.
Mirage.
I suspected this was going to be at the Ubisoft Forward. I think like a lot of people probably did. But yeah, they wanted, I guess, get it out early on the Sony showcase. And all I'm going to say about Mirage, instantly when I was watching this, I was like, this honestly just reminds me of like Assassin's Creed 1. Like they're kind of just taking, like, they're just kind of going way back to roots, I feel like. Because even like the outfit that, the protagonist is wearing.
Everything is basically from the first one, really.
Yeah, it's like.
You're right.
I was almost like, is this like a remake of the first one? Like, because it looked like, there's a lot of similarities, especially in the main protagonist, but yeah, I mean, it looks like they're kind of going back to form. So, very exciting there to kind of see where this takes it. I also heard some chatter about maybe this is kind of like I think Assassin's Creed like Red or something's the one after this, the bigger one that they announced. This is kind of like the bridge until that one, which would make sense. So it's probably going to be a smaller game. But I mean, the last few have been so massive. I feel like the game needs to pull back and do like a smaller kind of like story and really just make a condensed show. Because I mean, dude, it's like you're pumping in, like, I'm pretty sure Valhalla was like 60 hours just for the base game. It's like ridiculous.
It was insane. Didn't they do like, it was Odyssey was also insanely long too?
Yeah.
It just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah, it's like you're needing like 200 hours to do a completionist run. Like, it's unreal.
Like, my man, I can't do that.
Yeah. And so my hope with this is that the story is significantly kind of cut down in a more condensed fashion so that it can, get people back in to the series. Because I think a lot of people are just like, this game is too long. Like, I love Assassin's Creed, but I mean, it can, to a certain extent, you know what I'm saying? Probably not know.
Yeah, exactly.
120 hours. So, yeah, October 12th, it's launching this year. Very excited there. You can pre-order it, but you know what we say about pre-ordering on the show, Mike?
Don't do it.
Wait for the reviews.
Never.
No? Wait for the reviews. Yeah, that was a pretty interesting one. Street Fighter 6 got a little bit of love, even though we kind of seen a lot about Street Fighter 6 so far. It's kind of just it's something I noticed about the showcase too. Is they were showing a lot of the games they've already been talking about for a while, just to kind of like show more of that, which I guess depending on who you ask could be like necessary or unnecessary, but I think it's cool to see kind of just we're still working on this. It's coming out very soon. Just more insight on that. Yeah, I mean between that, Dragon's Dogma 2 is coming out. When I saw this particular trailer, it reminded me a lot of the Monster Hunter or like Dragon Age, kind of like that kind of vibe. And apparently there's a huge there's actually like a huge following behind the first one, so I'm sure there's a lot of excitement from fan base that a second one's on the way. It looks pretty cool though. I'm not gonna lie, just looking at it, watching the trailer. Yeah, it just reminds me of Monster Hunter at the end of the day. Keep going. Five Nights at Freddy's is getting another game. This is the VR portion. So like there was PS5, and then there's kind of a VR portion. Towards the latter half of the showcase was majority VR games, which I think for most people you probably don't have a VR too. Resident Evil 4 is getting a VR mode, which I can't remember if it was already announced, but
oh yeah, it was announced. That was one of the things that we were actually pretty hype about a month ago.
Yeah.
With the VR2 just like being shown off, and then finally getting a true horror movie or horror game that's going to be like a movie.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, I hope it does well. It looks like so far it's kind of just what we've seen from Resident Evil 7 or Resident Evil 8, VR. So, I think they know what they're doing in that aspect, but hopefully it's good. Be a nice VR experience for that. Arizona Sunshine, sorry, Arizona Sunshine 2 was dropped. This is another this just looks like a nice like zombie kind of shoot 'em up, beat 'em up in VR kind of thing. So if you're into that, could be up your alley. I mean, there was it was so funny watching this game. This is Crossfire Sierra Squad. A lot of people were just like, "Is this CS3?" Like as a meme in the chat. But yeah, it looks like kind of that COD CS style shooter in VR. I don't know. It looks really weird. Like the shooting, like I guess it's like hard to emulate recoil in VR. I feel like, but yeah, it just looks kind of like weird. Like whenever they're like zooming in to shoot.
Does this Crossfire have is it part of the same like series? Because there's a whole video
Yeah, I don't
game
know.
series for
I don't
Crossfire.
know.
I think it is. Hmm.
I'm not sure. Some of the other VR titles, you have Synapse. Looked very colorful and interesting. This actually is like when I think of a VR game, I think of a game like this. It's like you're shooting, you're getting into control stuff with like your hand, like it's like magic and stuff like that. Like when I'm thinking of a VR game, this is the type of game I want to play, where it's like I'm like controlling stuff and like throwing things, and I don't know. This is
like
something
a super being.
Yeah, like this would be something up my alley, like for sure. This is what I think. Wish I had a VR too, but I do not. If I did, I'd be playing something like this because it actually looks pretty sick. And dude, I'm just mesmerized.
It does look pretty sick.
The color
it's like
looks
you're
sick.
a Jedi with a gun.
Yeah. Throwing back to you. Yeah, it looks so sick. Very jealous. Marathon. Remember when we said Bungie had some IP in the works? That was not.
Yep.
That was not a Destiny. Revealed. There it is. Marathon is that game. Is that boy. Yeah, it looks from the descriptions of what I read, even after the trailer, it is a PvP focused shooter. I don't know, the trailer overall, I love the color and everything. There's a lot of color in this showcase, which I really enjoyed. But yeah, this very much looks like a nice colorful shooter, which so we'll see. I'm excited to hear more on it. There wasn't really a whole lot shown. So
no, there wasn't. It's mostly going back to Bungie's roots where they did their Marathon IP.
Yeah. So. Yeah, and I think I saw like some people were like, oh, like are they going back to that? Is this gonna like kind of be a sequel to that or something like, along those lines, or like an iteration of that? But it seems to be sort of stripped away. It's not gonna be like a 1-1. So very so people that are in Marathon, who knows, man. Yeah, this is definitely something I'm gonna see. I can't wait for the reviews on though to kind of see like where it stands. But I don't know, Destiny, they're doing the shooter thing pretty well, I mean, with in the past. So I have high hopes, but we'll see final presentation wise. Destiny 2, next expansion, got a little trailer. Cade was back. Wild. Yeah, Cade was back. Everyone's freaking out because died tragically. Spoilers, but and then like, oh, here he is. True. He's back. So yeah, very a lot of reception around that I saw. And then they did have a segment. We already covered it. Project Q. We're not going to go into it again, but Handheld. They had a little trailer for that, and the buds. But then the last, 10, 12 minutes of the showcase.
That is a big segment.
Marvel Spider-Man 2. Mike, I'm gonna tell you one thing. Yes. When you see this scene here, what is the first IP that comes to your head when you see this? A guy in the woods, very
Far Cry.
That's a good one. But the other one I was thinking about was Turok. That like immediately came to my head.
Oh my gosh,
because like a Turok Far Cry. I was like, dude, are they like doing something with Turok? Like freaking out.
I would lose my mind if they did.
Yeah,
it is kind of weird to think like that's how they started this trailer for Spider-Man 2.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
how does that work?
Like building context, I guess, the rest of the trailer. But yeah, that was one thing I noticed was like, I was like, dude, yo, like a Turok game, like, oh, I can continue with that, like that'd be sick. But yeah, then it came. But then after this, he's like, oh, we have an opponent for you. And then they show like Black Cat, Prowler, Wraith, Tombstone, Spider-Man. I'm like, oh, okay, never mind. This is the Spider-Man, like, the Spider-Man thing they had. With the trailer they were setting up, which made sense. We're approaching the fall, which, by the way, spoiler alert, there's still no release date announced, even after this trailer. Very upsetting. It just says fall. So we're still on blanket release window. They're very confident they're going to hit it, though. That's what they say. So we'll see. But yeah, I mean, I must say, gameplay wise, I mean, come on, Mike. We're watching it right now.
It looks sick, man. It looks like a.
Dude.
I don't even know, like a slasher almost.
Yeah, dude. Like, what's the thing is like Venom's in this, which it's just like, oh, dude, that's so sick. Like the fact you get to play as Venom and use all the abilities. Yeah, I don't know. I was like, I would say I was watching this and I was hyped the whole way through. There was a lot of chat that like it's games like this where I try to just close chat because it's like it's a bunch of just like, oh, this is boring. Why is it so long? But dude, I'm just watching this. I'm just mesmerized, man. I think this looks so sick. Seeing all the combat. I loved the first Spider-Man 2018. So I still haven't played Miles Morales. It's on my list, and I know it's on PC, so I definitely want to check it out at some point, for sure. But yeah, this is, and I'm gonna need to play it if I want to play Spider-Man 2 at some point, because Miles is of course in this. So yeah, I don't know. I'm very hyped. I'm very excited. I think there's just like it isn't even like that crazy at the start, but like you go on the rest of the trailer, and it's like my favorite sequence is when there's like a boat chase and like a helicopter chase and like just the overall movement, like and just how
it does look wild,
dude.
Man.
I mean, and a lot of people. The first thing I noticed was like it is 30 FPS, like that's what I noticed. But I mean, I'm not upset about it because like I love the first Spider-Man game, and I'm pretty sure it was 30 FPS, so like it's not like a huge matter for me. I mean, and even on PC when the PC release comes, it's gonna be unlimited frame galore anyway. So but I mean, dude, I don't know. This is one of those games for me I can overlook the frame rate because it's just like just watching this is like sick. So
yeah, most of the time you play like Spider-Man for swinging around like the city of New York, Manhattan, but also the story of it. It's not really about the 30 frames per second stuff, although kinda, you can make the argument that it should be required now
yeah,
in the year 2023. So
yeah, for a lot of titles. I mean, yeah, I mean, there's a whole debate there. But yeah, I don't know. Overall, I was very I don't know. Just like seeing this, it's like, dude, I may have to get a PS5, even though I keep saying it. Like this is this is a title that may push me there at some point. So, we'll see for sure. But obviously, wait for the release, and then I'll make a decision then. But who knows? I may just wait for PC. I mean, it'll probably take a while, but yeah, man. Overall, combat looks great. It looks like they're kind of just doing what they did with the other games. They have the foundation there, so it's just iterating on that in any way possible. So I love the dynamic between Miles and Peter and all that. I think it's gonna be sick. So
yeah, it's good. I expect it to be pretty sick. So how do you feel about the overall showcase?
overall, I mean, I went in with no expectations. So I mean, I thought it was an okay showcase. I didn't it didn't blow my socks off or anything. I will say, I just have to say, I feel like outright, very very surprised we did not hear anything on the Last of Us multiplayer game. I'm very surprised.
That's actually a good point.
Because it is 3 years post Last of Us Part 2, and we did not at least hear like an inkling of an announcement, right? Like we know it's in the works. And on top of that, I mean, there's other IP I can't name off the top of my head, but like, I mean, there's a Wolverine game. Nothing about that. I mean, that looked really cool from like initial screenshots whenever it was announced at the same time Spider-Man 2 was announced. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of IP they have in the pipeline that just wasn't touched on here. And it's like, and that's why I could see why people are upset. Still a lot of like cool and interesting games to look at. I loved the Spider-Man 2 gameplay reveal. I thought it was pretty cool. But yeah, that's kind of like my only major disappointment is we didn't hear anything on Last of Us multiplayer. But here's to hoping next year, I guess, or maybe later this year. I don't know. Oh, what do you think, Mike?
I'm sure we'll probably hear something eventually at like Summer Game Fest or anything going forward. I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many different showcases that are going to be coming out, and we literally just have to wait like 2 more weeks, and we'll probably hear something.
Yeah.
So I'm not down and out about it. I did see on Reddit like people were pretty upset. They were missing some games that they wish they saw. Me personally, I went in the same mindset as you. I went in not expecting much. I was surprised by some games, reminding me of some old styles of games. Like I did N64 callbacks to some of these.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think it was a bad showcase, but I wasn't insanely like impressed.
I will. Honestly, this is kind of like almost my final statement on it, but it's like if you would have sat down and told me that this was a state of play, I would have believed you 100%. Like I would be like, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. Like state of play. Because I mean, when it really does come down to it, I mean, this is technically not a state of play, which I think is where a lot of the uproar is around it. Because if you're doing a showcase, it's kind of like you would hope that there'd be like heavy hitters laced all throughout it, right?
Sure.
So yeah, I can see where people are upset. But overall, I right now I'm just looking forward to Summer Games Fest, seeing what the next showcases are. Really hoping I'm more impressed this year with Summer Games Fest and what there is to offer, and hopefully on the Xbox side, we get to hear a lot more about the major IPs because I really want Xbox to do well this year now after seeing the Sony one. So
Facts.
it's kind of my I think it's kind of my final thoughts, on the matter, Mike.
I think it's an appropriate final thoughts, man. Like, there's a lot of stuff that Sony has in the works. Some stuff is pretty exciting. Some stuff, we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to see.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
let only time will tell if it'll actually be a success and drag people in. But I still think sentiment's still the same. Gaming's the best it's ever been. It's only going to get better.
yeah. The way I look at it now, if this year is another kind of down year for showcases, I mean, I feel like 2024, 2025's got a pop, especially with the new engine and everything. So, yeah, I think the best. I obviously, I know we're both optimistic. I think the best years are going to come if this isn't the year. So, still very much excited.
Yeah.
And there's titles I'm looking forward to this year: Starfield, Alan Wake 2.
Facts.
There's a ton. So,
All right, sir. I think it's time for us to wrap this up. We're a little bit over our hour
just a
little
little bit,
mark.
a little bit.
And I also have a dinner that I got to get ready for. So
Yeah, I really have to use the bathroom too. So, yeah, it's probably a good idea.
This is perfect. This is perfect. All right, let's do our typical outro then. All the links are in the description of every single article topic that we've covered down below. You can check it out for yourself. We also post to Twitter. We have a Discord that has plenty of the events, all the showcases that are going to be going on. We try to regularly post all the articles in there as well. And without further ado, I guess I'm Michael Anthony, and this is Kyle Heath. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We appreciate you, and we'll see you next week.
Have a good week, everyone.
Have a good one. We'll see you later.